What's up, everybody? Welcome into that Dynasty show. I will be one of the two hosts. My name is Mikey. This is my buddy Tyler. I'll let him introduce himself in a second. But before I let him talk, I'm going to talk because I like talking. Um, so we're pretty much just going at this completely blind. I've done a little bit of YouTube. I don't know, Tyler, if you've done any much YouTube, but we have played a lot of Dynasty. We've played a lot of Dynasty together the last few years. And I think I can speak for both of us when I say we've become hyper obsessed with it. And that's why we decided to start a YouTube channel here. So, Tyler, go ahead. I'll let you give your spiel.
Yeah, I'm amped up to start it. We ended up just talking a lot about Dynasty day in and day out. It became regular conversation, and we figured why not try and share some ideas, see what sticks. You throw enough ideas out there, you're gonna hit on some, right? So we just wanted to share, and yeah, we can just get into it. I'm pretty amped up to get started.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I got to say, I think one of my favorite things about playing Dynasty, or I guess just fantasy football in general, is that, Tyler and I, we went to school in North Jersey together. We went to college there. And since then, I've moved to North Carolina, but I've still talked to Tyler, I would say at least, two, three, maybe four times a week, even if it's just texting about, hey, you want to do this trade? No, that fucking sucks. Oh, sorry, my bad. It's cool. It's a good way to stay in touch. I've really enjoyed it. Really good way to stay in touch with everyone in our league. We've when did we start our league? It was 2019 was our inaugural season, I think.
Yeah, it was either 2018, 2019. I think you were just about to graduate. I was like a sophomore, something like that. Yeah, but it's also a good way to make new friends. Made a couple
Yeah,
new friends. I didn't know people, certain people in that league when it started, but
yeah,
it's been,
no,
you know,
it's been awesome. It's been a really good way to stay in touch with everyone, especially with me being down in North Carolina now. Get to
yeah,
text everyone and talk to everyone for the drafts and everything like that. It's been a lot of fun. But speaking of drafts, that's what we're gonna do here today. We're gonna do a mock draft, and I know as our first video, we probably should keep it short, do a 5-10 minute. But since we are going in blind, we're doing some practice, and we're not only practicing our drafting skills, but we're gonna be practicing our YouTube and recording skills here. So we'll see how it goes for us. But I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So what we're doing here today, it's going to be a super flex mock draft. It's got the rookies included. So, you're going to see Brees Hall go. You're going to see Kenny Pickett go, all those fun guys. So you can see here, I did start the draft already. We kind of had a little recording mishap. So the first few picks were gone. Luckily, neither Tyler or I had picked yet. So we're going to go ahead and pick up here. Tyler, I'm going to unpause the draft. So you're going to have about 2 minutes to make your selection here, but take us away at pick 105. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, all off the board as expected.
yeah. And I mean, I've had like 10 minutes to look at this one, and I'm still not even really sure where I want to go. I don't want to take Jonathan Taylor because I don't want to build my team around a running back. Um, I also don't think. I mean, who's going to buy Jonathan Taylor off me right now? Who can I flip him to? I mean, a contending team isn't going to pay 3 first-round picks or 2 first-round picks and a stud for him. They're going to buy somebody cheaper that they can pay 1 first-round pick for in the middle of the season. Someone that's aging, someone they can add to their roster. Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. I mean, I just don't feel like they're going to be the quarterbacks that last until they're 37, 38 years old. So not sure if I want to build my team around them either. Feels like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson have similar shelf lives to both Kyler and Lamar at this point. I think I'm gonna go. Think I'm gonna go with one of them. So I think if I'm gonna go better quarterback, I'm gonna go with Jamar Chase. And I think I'm just gonna take it and run and forget about it and pretend it didn't happen.
I mean, it's not a bad pick. I don't disagree with it necessarily. You're not. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, they're going to have an extremely long shelf life in the NFL, extremely long shelf life for your dynasty squad. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It scares me that your quarterback is not going to come until like pick what's that, like 20 of the draft. So that's kind of scary. But it is what it is. So let's see what I got here. I'm definitely not taking Najee Harris. Not my cup of tea. Not starting my dynasty with that. Part of me is tempted to take Kyle Pitts, but also just too rich for my blood. I'm not a first round Kyle Pitts kind of guy. Love Javante, love Cooper Cup. Obviously, I love Christian McCaffrey. Tyler knows this. Anyone who knows me knows this. Man, I
Really?
like Dak. I do, but I don't know if I love Dak at 110, which really, really trips me up here. As far as short-term production, I mean, Dak's a QB1. It's easy to say. This is just a mock draft. I got to remember that I don't have to take, every single little analytical approach. Um, it's a super flex league, right? I don't think that I can go these first few picks without taking quarterback. And honestly, there's already a big drop off between Dak Prescott and the rest of the guys because Russell Wilson's old. Deshaun Watson, God only knows if he's going to play football. Jalen Hurts, we don't know how long his career is going to be with Philly. So I don't love taking Dak at 110, but I'm going to take Dak at 110.
Yeah, I can't blame you there. You also get a swing around pick here to grab another stud. So
Yeah. And that's the thing. I figured Dak Prescott would have been gone. I had a feeling these four guys were well within the possibilities of going. So now this is when things start to shake up, right? I need to shape a philosophy. Am I going for it this year? Do I want longevity? Do I just want to go all in? Am I going to find myself in a rebuild in the next couple of years? In a perfect world, I'm not rebuilding in a couple of years and I'm just going all out for it. I am tempted to take Russell Wilson here because he's very reliable. He's going to be very reliable in Denver for at least the next couple of years. I do love Jalen Hurts, but I think 2-3 is just a little too early for him. No idea why Trey Lance is being taken as early as he is, but we'll get into that one later. Uh, you know what? How can you say no to Cooper Kupp at this point? He just signed a 3-year extension. He's going to be an elite asset for at least the next couple of years, and he's tied to Matt Stafford. So we're going to go with Cooper Kupp there and pair him with Dak Prescott.
yeah, I mean, just take those 1,000,000 points and run with them.
Exactly. I mean, Dak and Cooper Kupp are going to combine for nearly 50 points for me every week. So that's already a supreme advantage. I'll take that.
So now I feel like I kind of have an obvious pick here. Um, See, man, it sucks because in real life, I'm probably trading back out of that 105, grabbing either Kyler Murray or Dak Prescott, and I'd be able to get my guy here, but I'm not going to get him, unfortunately. So I'm going to take Russell Wilson off the board here. Pretty easy.
Yeah, I feel like that's the no-brainer pick, right? Because Russell Wilson, he's an older quarterback, but by no stretch of the imagination is he old for a quarterback, if that makes sense. So, and it's especially, I mean, I did not expect you to get a quarterback of Russell Wilson's caliber at the 2-8 after going Jamar Chase at 1-5. So I think that is a stellar start from, the 105.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty shocked there was a couple teams. I mean, of course, these are bots drafting, but they skipped out on quarterbacks. Team 6 and Team 8 just said no go. And now I'm
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
kind
stuck
of
here.
terrifying.
Kind of stuck here because I'm so in love with Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins, but Matt Stafford's also on the board. And with Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford, I feel like I can win at any point over the next like 5 years or so, maybe not 5 years with Russell Wilson. Probably have to move on from him before that. I don't know.
I mean, that'd be a solid 2 to 3 year window. Matt Stafford's tied at the very minimum to Cooper Kupp for the next several years.
Yeah, I mean, I can always ship these guys if need be. I mean, there's clearly going to be quarterback needy teams in the league, so yeah, I mean, I think I have to pair Matt Stafford and Russell Wilson, and then just try to find value with the receivers later on. I mean, I'm big on some of those year 3 guys, you know that. So yeah, I'm gonna go Matt Stafford here and not look back on it.
Yeah, it's a solid choice. Before I make my pick, I got to ask you, how do you feel about AJ Brown going 302 now that he's in Philly?
Um, I don't think he can get better from what we saw, but I also think there's a chance that Philly can upgrade at quarterback. I don't want to avoid guys just because they have a bad quarterback situation. I would like that's maybe like a deciding factor for me. Like when it came down to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, like who's got the better quarterback long term? I'm betting on Joe Burrow over Kirk Cousins. But I mean, he's going into a more crowded receiving room, and with Devonta Smith there, who's very talented. I don't think anyone can argue that. But yeah, I mean, there's probably guys I would take over him. I would take Waddle over him any day of the week. I would take probably T. Higgins over him any day
Yeah.
of the week. I don't think that you're going to be able to trade AJ Brown for either of those guys straight up after the season. So looking ahead, yeah, I mean that passing offense is just limited in Philly until Jalen Hurts is gone. But I mean, if you're going to buy him low, if someone's just willing to ship him off their roster because they don't want him anymore, then I mean, take him for a cheap price. But I'm not searching for deals on AJ Brown right now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And the thing is, I believe in Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the starting quarterback in Philly for this foreseeable future. I would say at least the next 3 to 5 years, because one of the things people overlook is that Jalen Hurts was essentially a rookie 2.0 last year, right? Like he was under Carson Wentz the year before. He only started, I think, 5 games by the end of the season. And they benched him in the one because they were tanking like a bunch of scumbags in Philly. So
Fuck Philly. I'll
yeah,
back.
I think Jalen Hurts is going to be fine. I think he's capable. I think he's fantastic for fantasy, right?
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
and honestly, if I was picking even at the 207 as opposed to the 203, I would have taken Jalen Hurts that early because I believe in him. Now, with that being said, I like him for his rushing upside, right? Like he's the guy. I'm nobody is going to be surprised if he gets 800 rushing yards and like 7 to 10 rushing touchdowns. No one's going to be surprised by that because that's the type of guy that he is. I'm going to pause the draft here because I think it's going to take me a couple of
Yeah.
seconds. I didn't realize.
Yeah, no, we can discuss this for a minute. Definitely, we can pause and discuss for sure.
Yeah, but I think with Jalen Hurts, it's the rushing upside that does it for fantasy for him. As a quarterback, as a passing guy, he's going to get the job done, right? Like Philly can win with Jalen Hurts, but he's not going to be the quarterback that throws for 4,000 yards, right? Like we're expecting maybe 3,700 at best any given year from Jalen Hurts until we see like this monumental step up from him. And I don't think we're going to see that type of step up. We're going to see a serviceable quarterback that has great legs.
I agree with everything
And
you said for sure.
well, and if he only has 3,700 yards, right? Okay, let's give AJ Brown 1,000 yards. Let's give Devontae Smith 1,000 yards because he was very close to 1,000 last year. Dallas Goddard's not sharing the tight end room with Zach Ertz anymore. Let's give him 800 yards, right? That's 2,800 yards between your three guys. There's only optimistically 900 yards left. AJ Brown's, if we're lucky, maybe getting an additional 100, maybe 150 of that. He's going to be severely capped by Jalen Hurts' ability to throw touchdowns, right? He's not slinging for 30 touchdowns like a Russell Wilson kind of guy is. Jalen Hurts is going to be maybe 20, 22, 23 touchdowns, something like that. There's just not a lot of upside to love about AJ Brown. Obviously, he's a freak athlete. He is probably a top 10 receiver in real life. But when it comes to fantasy, it's just crowded offense, weird quarterback situation, like run first scheme. It I don't know. I know we've been talking about AJ Brown for a while here, so I'm gonna move on, but
No,
just
I mean you're good.
way too rich for my blood. With that being said, I'm resuming the draft. I have 40 seconds left. This is a no-brainer pick for me. T. Higgins, I have him in my dynasty rankings only behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. That's how high I am on him. So I'm taking T. Higgins
Over
at
CD Lamb.
310 over CD Lamb. I do have him over CD Lamb. Kind of tied with CD Lamb. But I love T. Higgins so much, dude. He was, I think, either the number 6 or number 7 overall wide receiver over the last 8 weeks of the season. He actually outscored Jamar Chase in one less game over the last half of the season. So, I mean, with CD Lamb, last year and the year before that, Amari Cooper, right? He's getting that cornerback 1 matchup. We haven't seen a lot of that from CD Lamb. And now we are going to see it. And losing Amari Cooper is a pretty big thing for that offense. Now, with Cincinnati, nobody is putting their number 1 corner on T. Higgins ever, as long as Jamar Chase is on the field, right? So it's kind of one of those things where T. Higgins is always going to have this tremendous opportunity in front of him. And I love that. And he's got Joe Burrow for arguably the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like there's just not a lot to hate about T. Higgins.
Yeah,
I absolutely love the guy.
it's hard not to love the guy. I definitely agree with you. The only thing about CD, I would say, is that there's so many targets that left that offense, not only with Amari Cooper, but Cedric Wilson too. And for the first half
Yeah.
of the season, Michael Gallup's going to be out too. So it's going to be all CD and Jalen Tolbert. And I don't even Cowboys fan. I don't even know who the number 3 receiver is going to be when two guys are gone right now. I don't know, Noah Brown maybe. I don't even know. I honestly
Well, you
couldn't
guys
even.
got James Washington, but I know he's never
James
really
Watt.
done anything spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, he is what he is. But yeah, I mean, a lot of targets open up for that offense. But I agree with you. It's something to be seen with CD for sure.
Yeah. All right. So moving on here, I have my next pick, and I'm gonna end up reaching on someone, right? Like I hate. I would trade away this pick if this were a real draft, right? Like I don't hate Tyreek Hill, I don't hate DK Metcalf, but Tyreek Hill, he's getting older. He has Tua throwing him the ball. He's splitting with Jalen Waddle. Like going from Pat Mahomes to Tua is a pretty big deal, right? I love Tyreek Hill for redraft. I'm fine with him in redraft, but I don't know how the longevity is going to play out in Miami. DK Metcalf, weird situation. Don't even know if he's going to be in Seattle this time next year. I like the talent. Don't love the situation. I'm going to skip on that this early in the draft. Saquon skipping, George Kittle skipping, Justin Fields skipping. Like I'm going to reach here. I really am going to reach here. But at pick 4-3, I'm going to take Derek Carr as my quarterback too.
You know, if I
Um,
didn't end up taking Matt Stafford, Derek Carr was going to be someone I was going to target later on in the draft as well. So I mean, if you're going to reach, man, you don't have another pick for what? I mean, you have 20 picks until your next pick, man. So I mean, go get your guy. But I mean, for me
that, that,
here,
that's yeah, that's the thing. Like Derek Carr, he's tied with Devontae Adams. They just signed Hunter Renfro. The offensive line is okay. They'll probably do something with Darren Waller. I don't know. I like his situation. He's been a serviceable, like top 15, top 16 quarterback the last couple of years. You give anyone Devontae Adams, and the stock's going to go up by at least 4 or 5 spots. So as long as Derek Carr's thrown to Devontae Adams, I have a very solid QB2 on my roster.
yeah, I like Derek Carr a lot. I mean, he is what he is. You know what you're getting from him. You know, he's a solid QB2. He's a high end QB2. He's what finishes as like QB 13 every year. He kind of he's like Kirk Cousins in a way. You know, finishes as QB 12, QB 11 year after year.
Exactly.
But for me here,
So
I
yeah,
feel like
so what are your thoughts here? Are you thinking of taking your first running back, or how you liking the board?
no, I mean, I feel like I don't like Cam Akers coming off the injury. I don't trust Washington with Antonio Gibson. I also am low on J.K. Dobbins.
Yep.
I mean, Kenneth Walker, I think he's going to get a lot of volume this year, but I mean, he's capped. You know, I think at best he's got, David Montgomery ceiling, like, I mean, 15 points a game, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, and that's if Seattle just keeps feeding him the ball. But I mean, they've got no quarterback to throw the ball there. So I mean, I feel like he's got to get a load of the touches. But for me here, I feel like who do I want for the rest of their career here? I mean, DK Metcalf, Drake London, it's really Deontay Johnson, I guess, is in my mind. But I mean, DK is a top 10 receiver. I think he's in a similar tier for me as
Yeah,
AJ Brown right now, who went
I agree.
20 picks ago. But I feel like I have to take DK. The way things change in this league all the time, I don't think Seattle made that trade with Russell Wilson to try to compete this year. I think they're going on a tank job and looking for a quarterback next year. So as soon as that happens, I think DK Metcalf's value goes right back to where it always has been.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm in your spot at 4-8, I would probably take DK Metcalf as well. I mean, you already had your second quarterback. I agree with everything you said about Akers, Dobbins, Gibson, Walker. Like, just not super high on these guys. Walker would be the guy that, I wouldn't take him over Dobbins and Gibson. I'd arguably take him over Akers because that's how low I am on him. But Walker, we don't know his pass catching ability, right? Like best case scenario, we're getting Nick Chubb, but that's like a really best case scenario. You can't just expect a guy to come in and perform like a Nick Chubb type. You know what I mean? Like that's high praise. So Don't blame me at all for skipping on him. I got to ask you, how do you feel about Travis Etienne sitting here?
He's one I'm looking at, definitely. I have him over guys like Cam Akers and J.K. Dobbins.
I
I
agree.
liked him better than both of them coming out of college. The only reason I really liked Cam Akers coming out of college was the landing spot with the Rams, of course. I mean, he went to the best one. But still, I think he was drafted, what, like 108-ish? I don't, was he drafted high? I don't even remember. Maybe 106 in the league?
Which
I don't
one?
even. Cam Akers? I couldn't even tell you where he was drafted at the
Yeah, I
time.
don't remember.
I can't remember anyone being all
Day
that high.
two.
Yeah, but I'm in between him and Traylon Burks here. Really, I don't really want to invest in Zach Wilson, so I'm not gonna take Garrett Wilson. Um, I mean Montgomery's ceiling's capped in that offense. Traylon Burks is interesting. Two is interesting as a QB3, but I'd rather take a starter right now.
Yeah, no need for a QB3 already.
I mean, am I gonna get Josh Jacobs on this turnaround? I think I'm gonna take Traylon Burks and hope that Josh Jacobs or yeah, I think that's what I think I'm gonna look to do. I'll go I'll go Traylon Burks and I'm gonna look for guys like Josh Jacobs, James Conner, Zeke, in the later rounds.
Well, Jacobs just went, and I was gonna say Josh Jacobs ain't getting back to you because I would have taken him. Um, so here I think I definitely need to go running back. This is the long I don't think I've ever made it to round 5 in any draft ever without a running back. Even in Superflex. I am very anti zero RB strategy. And I wouldn't say I'm zero RB since I'm probably going to go back to back running backs here if everything shakes up correctly.
Good time to go
But
back to
I
back running backs.
but yeah, this is a super weird situation. So I have Cooper Cup. I have Dak Prescott. I have Derek Carr. I have T. Higgins, right? I would imagine Cooper Cup's going to follow up last year with another top 5 performance, right? We're not going to see another generational fantasy year from him. That's too much to expect. But I got a top 5 receiver, Dak and Derek Carr. There's a world where both of them are top 10 quarterbacks. And I'm really high on T. Higgins. I think he's easily a top 15 redraft wide receiver this year. So I'm expecting a big year from my 4 guys. And there's a running back on this board that's still there that could potentially be, a top 3 running back this year. And there's actually 2 of them that I really like. First one is going to be Aaron Jones because who else is touching the ball in Green Bay this year? They have a plethora of rookie wide receivers and Alan Lazard. Aaron Jones is arguably the wide receiver 1 for Aaron Rodgers this year. His shelf life, he's going to last me this season, maybe next season, if I'm lucky, if they transition him into like a receiver role. So I do really love him. And I also really like Leonard Fournette, but I think Leonard Fournette's going to be there in my next pick. So I'm going to take Aaron Jones here, take a chance.
You know how much I love Aaron Jones. I mean, I saw a stat the other day in the last 3 years in games where Devontae Adams didn't play, Aaron Jones averaged like 28 points per game. The only other person, I think, the only other 2 people in Dynasty who can do that are Jonathan Taylor and CMC, maybe. Those are the only real running backs who can actually give you 28 a game. But I don't even think Jonathan Taylor has that because he doesn't have that receiving ceiling that Aaron Jones and CMC have.
Yeah, with Jonathan Taylor, you're always kind of. I mean, he catches 2, 4, nothing crazy, but they do have Naheem Hines there. But you're always relying on him to have that 100-yard rushing game with 1 or 2 touchdowns as well. Um, but yeah, I agree. Aaron Jones has a sky high ceiling this year. Another guy that has a sky high ceiling is Leonard Fournette. I like Rashad White, the running back that they drafted, but at the same time, I, Rashad White's not going to steal any meaningful touches from Fournette as a rookie. I mean, this is a win now roster that I've decided to build in the last 2 rounds because Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette, if they're getting the volume, and they will get the volume this year, they're both potentially top 10 running backs. So not a lot of shelf life for my running backs, but hey, who fucking cares?
I mean, you're gonna get the production out of them. That's the bottom line. That's really what you're looking for out of your dynasty teams is you want to win. So I mean, I don't shame anyone for going with older vets that are going to give them points that if things go wrong and go haywire and you have to trade them off during the season, go ahead. I mean, guys are going to want them mid-season.
So
But
for your pick here, Mr. Dallas,
you know,
we thinking Zeke?
I'm thinking about it, but
Well,
I'm
so let me tell you this. I saw a tweet earlier, and it was directed at people who are fading Ezekiel Elliott, who had his quote unquote worst year last year. Right, he was hurt. The offense was kind of weird. He still finished as like RB7 in PPR. The year before that, when he played what, like 12 games or something like that, finishes the RB9. Um, Everything else before that was like top six performance, top six performance. I understand why some people are a little hesitant, but I mean 608, dude. We are how many picks is this? We're like 68 picks in and he's still there. Like that's kind of nuts to me.
yeah. Pause the draft for a second because I have some thoughts here. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been down on Zeke since he went to Cabo and spent training camp in Cabo. As a Dallas fan, but the bottom line is that they give him the meaningful snaps. You know, they give him the touches on the goal line. I've been screaming for Tony Pollard since he was drafted in the third round. I had no idea who he was. Watched his highlight tape from Memphis, and I fell in love with him immediately. I thought he popped on the field. I think he's electric. The Cowboys are paying Zeke too much money to let him sit on the bench and not get meaningful touches, though.
Yep.
So, do I see Zeke's fantasy value or fantasy production, I should say, dropping off this year? Probably not. But I'm also looking here at a guy who's finishes top 10 year after year after year as a receiver. And it feels kind of lame to do it. But I have Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford as my quarterbacks. I don't think I'm insane for going Mike Evans here either. The guy's
No,
20
you
years old.
you're not insane at all. I was very tempted to go Mike Evans. If Leonard Fournette had gone in those four picks, I was going to take Mike Evans because
I mean,
he is there is nobody, there is nobody that has been more fantasy reliable than Mike Evans over the last 8 years or however long he's been in the league. Like 1,000 yards and like 7+ touchdowns is a guarantee with that guy.
yeah, I mean, you look at him, compare him to Stephon Diggs. You know, look at where Stephon Diggs got drafted. Stephon Diggs has finished in the last 4 years as wide receiver 7, 3, 24, and 10. You look at Mike Evans and you get 6, 8, 8, 6. I'm getting him 3 rounds later, 3.5 rounds later.
Well, and they're the exact same age. They're both 28 years old.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, I understand that Stephon Diggs is tied to Josh Allen, but I mean, Mike Evans is tied to Tom Brady right now. So it's really tough for me not to put Mike Evans on this squad and just look to fill in that running back role with James Conner or I mean, I guess James Conner is the last one. I have to pray that he falls, but I mean,
Well, I would be nervous, right? Because there are
man,
there's
there's
one team that has no running backs and they pick twice in between your picks. So I would I
that's
would guess that at least two, maybe three running backs are going between your two picks here.
yeah, man, might just have to let him go and take another receiver after. Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of have to go with. But so now I'm kind of caught between do I want Zeke or do I want James Conner?
That's why I put the clock back on. I'm
Yeah,
forcing your
yeah.
hands
See,
here.
now I actually have to make a decision, right? I mean, I guess the obvious one is Zeke. I mean, yeah, he's a year younger. He's probably got a bunch of more touches, but I mean, James Conner wasn't able to stay healthy in Pittsburgh. I gotta go Zeke. You talked me into it. You talked
Yeah,
me into it.
that's good. I think Zeke is still a top 12 guy. Worst case scenario, maybe he's a high end running back too, right? But that's still fine at 608.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm good with the value. I'm definitely good with the value. So now I'm between two guys. Scratch Olave. I don't want Olave. Even though I do think Olave could be good if Jameis
Yeah.
Winston goes back to his roots, of course. He starts going haywire. But now I'm really caught between two guys that I'm big on. Rashad Bateman and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's quarterback situation improves drastically at some point over the next 2 years. I don't think Jared Goff is the long-term answer there with all the picks that the Lions have. And I mean, I think last year a lot of people think that it was just he was just producing because Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift were down. I mean, I think you have to be good in order to demand those targets. I don't think that you can just walk onto a field as a rookie, and even though two guys get hurt, even on a banged up roster that's not very deep, I think you still have to be good to command those touches. And I don't think that all of them go away. I mean, if he can put up 80%, 70% of what he put up in that 4 or 5 game stretch at the end of the season, he's a guy that, is going to give me a lot of points per game. He's going to give me, 16, 17 points a game. So at this spot where he could be my wide receiver 4, I think I'm going to go with him because I don't think there's any running backs on the board that can save me here. I mean, maybe AJ Dillon, but
Yeah, even that, I would agree. I mean, I'm not a massive Amon Ra fan, right? It's not that I dislike him. It's just that I like Jamison Williams and T.J. Hawkinson and DeAndre. Like, I love all three of those guys in Detroit so much. There's literally zero room in my heart for more Detroit guys, right? But I don't think it's a bad process at all, especially if you're someone who believes in Amon Ra. I think it's a pretty solid process to have. So I won't call you out on that one or nothing like that. So here I am trying to build my flex spot, and I guess I could go tight end, but I ain't going Dalton Schultz. I ain't taking Dallas Goedert this early. In my opinion, if you don't get one of the top few tight ends, you might as well punt the position. Get your guy in like the 10th or 11th round and just see, because I really like some of the later guys like Cole Kmet, Albert O. Even a stupid guy like Tyler Higbee is going to be serviceable for you, and you don't need to spend a fortune on him. So probably wait on that. Mari Cooper, not taking the chance because I don't think Deshaun Watson is playing anytime soon. I think he's out for at least the first half of the season. I think Amari Cooper is going to be a great value when Deshaun Watson is throwing the ball, if Deshaun Watson ever throws the ball. But it's just not really the risk that I'm going to take here. I do like Marquise Brown a lot in Arizona. Him, the Kyler connection, that's going to work out really well. Kyler surprisingly has a very accurate deep ball. And once DeAndre Hopkins comes back, Marquise Brown is never going to have to worry about top corner coverage ever. Um, who else we got? Darnell Mooney, I'm pretty high on, but at the same time, like, he was a 5th-round pick in real life. They're going to draft a first-round receiver next year. There's no way that they don't. So his situation is going to change. Mike Williams falling this far, though, is an interesting one to me. He's kind of hit or miss. He's either going to get me 5 points or he's going to get me 30 points in a week. But I am surprisingly very high on Mike Williams this year. And how old is he? I don't think he's too old. He's 27. Let's compare that to Marquise Brown, because these are the two guys that I'm stuck between. Marquise Brown is 25, so it's a 2-year difference. But you know what? The Chargers re-signed Mike Williams. He's got Justin Herbert for a very long time. So I'm going to take Mike Williams here as my wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I like that pick. I mean, high ceiling guy. He's going to give you the spike weeks. I mean, you're so solid with Cup and Higgins that I mean, you can afford to have the wide receiver 3 that's going to spike and tank for you once in a while.
Definitely, definitely. My next pick, I would really like to go with a young running back like James Cook, especially because I've been pounding the table for James Cook. But there's too much value elsewhere. And that value is with Brandon Ayuk, and I will explain it as it's on your way. Brandon Ayuk last year had an abysmal first half of the season, absolutely abysmal. He was like wide receiver 70 in the first 8 weeks. The last half of the season, he was a top 15 wide receiver, and that was with a healthy George Kittle back on the field. That was with Elijah Mitchell. More importantly, that was with Deebo Samuel on the field. The couple of games that Ayuk got to play with Trey Lance, he had the same, if not a better, target share than Deebo Samuel. Like, I think the Trey Lance to Brandon Ayuk connection is going to be good. And in my opinion, Ayuk is a lock to be a wide receiver, top 25 this year. And he's so young too. So I'm happy to get him as my wide receiver 4. I got a nice little mix in my wide receiver room.
Yeah, I'm big on Ayuk too. I mean, I think especially with Debo's uncertainty, I mean, I think they try to roll Debo out to more be an actual wide receiver role this year. I don't know if he's going to be down to get run into the dirt like they've been doing to him. But I mean, Brandon Ayuk on the outside, there's no competition out there for him at receiver.
Yep.
So that's also kind of what I'm thinking here. So I'm caught between, because I'm a James Cook hater. I mean, Damian Harris, I guess, is viable. Miles Sanders viable as RB2s.
Oh yeah, you're still looking for your RB2 here.
Yeah, but I'm seeing more value elsewhere. I feel like I'm trying to not worry about my lineup right now. So much time to move pieces. I want to get value,
Yep.
and I mean,
There's
I guess
plenty of serviceable RB2s down the line, like
yeah,
guys
that
like Rashad Penny, Chase Edmonds,
Devin.
Cordell Patterson is still going to get some work this year too. Like not sexy names at all, but they'll get you there if you need them.
Yeah, but I don't need them to be. I just need them to be guys that I can pair up with one of these depth receivers that I'm taking to move up and buy
Exactly.
someone else. So I'm contemplating between right now Juju, D Hop, and Allen Robinson. And also Brandon Cooks is also in that tier for me if I wanted to go win now, which I mean most of my team is young besides my quarterback room and Zeke, of course. But I don't mind having old running backs.
Yeah.
I'll take them and dump them. I'll buy them cheap. Juju's got so much upside. His value can skyrocket so much. D Hop's old. Allen Robinson, though, I think he kills it this year in LA. Big on Allen Robinson.
Yeah. I'm a massive Allen Robinson fan. It was just a bad year last year. Like that's it. You can chalk it up to that easily.
I mean, you look what Matt Stafford did for Cooper Kupp too. I mean, what can you do for a guy like Allen Robinson?
Oh shit, you have 8
Yeah,
seconds.
I know.
I paused it here for you.
All right. I think I gotta go Juju. I
All
think I
right,
gotta go. I
I'm
think
gonna
I gotta go.
unpause it. You ready to make that quick pick?
Yep, I got it. I
All
think I
right,
gotta go quick
5 seconds. There you go.
because I just have no interest in Cortland Sutton at all. I mean,
Me
Juju
neither.
Juju dominated the receiving share when they were both on the field last year. There's just no point. So
Yeah,
I have both my guys that I wanted or that I was looking at right here. I have either D Hop, Allen Robinson, and Brandon Cook still on the board. See, it's hard to turn down that almost guaranteed wide receiver 2 out of Brandon Cooks. It's also hard to turn down that upside with Allen Robinson. And that, I mean, D Hop's a wide receiver, consistent wide receiver 5, just out for half the year. But I mean, you can't argue D Hop had his worst season ever with Arizona.
see, if I'm you, and I'll say this reluctantly because I'd probably take him if he was there. Brandon Cooks, dude, like he is a year after year, with the exception of 2 years ago, he's a year after year top 20 guy with top 10 upside. And Houston has no one else to throw the ball to. Like you could argue their wide receiver 2 is the rookie they drafted, John Mechie, and he's coming off an ACL tear. Like we don't even know if he's going to be ready at the beginning of the season. Brandon Cooks could be the most heavily targeted receiver in the entire league this year, and nobody's talking about it.
Well, I mean, he's been just a fantasy stud year after year after year. I can remember I drafted him in my fantasy leagues when I was like in middle school.
Yeah,
I can remember people being like, "Oh,
always
good
good.
pick, good pick." He was just always good. But here, I think I want to draft by upside. It is only a mock draft. I think I'm gonna go with Allen Robinson,
That's fair. That's fair.
and I'll hope that Brandon Cooks falls to you.
Well, here I am. I could go for Brandon Cooks. I could. And I probably will here. I do think Gabe Davis has a lot of upside in Buffalo. With Josh Allen. I mean, we saw Gabe Davis had that massive performance in the playoffs. Like that's just not going to disappear. Gabe Davis is the solidified wide receiver 2 there. They drafted Khalil Shakir, who was obviously a day 3 pick. They brought in Jamison Crowder, who he's a target hog, but that was with the Jets. We don't know what he's going to be like when he's surrounded by actual good receivers and has an actual good quarterback thrown to him. It's I am really tempted to take Gabe Davis here because he's got that mix of upside and youth that I'm looking for. There's also Ryan Tannehill, who I don't know how long he's going to stay the starter in Tennessee, but solid QB3 to have. I wouldn't have to worry about having a starting quarterback each week. That's for sure between him, Carr, and Dak. But I don't know if I could take my backup quarterback at this point. And then there's Rashad White if I want to, handcuff my Leonard Fournette. There's Jameis Winston, who I don't think should still be there. So that's actually a pretty good value pick. But
How do you feel about Jahan Dotson?
I like Jahan Dotson. I'm not taking him over Brandon Cooks. I'm not taking him
Mhm.
over Gabe Davis. He's not in consideration for this pick, but he could be in consideration for my next pick, depending on what I do here. I just, I have Aaron Jones. I have Leonard Fournette. I need studs this year, right? Because I have a very short window with these running backs, and I think Brandon Cooks is a much safer bet than Gabe Davis. Brandon Cooks ended up being a top 12 wide receiver in my first go at full season projections for all 32 teams. And if Brandon Cooks can even get me half of what I expect him to do, he is an extreme value pick in 9-10. So I'm going to take him here, and we'll see who falls. So Gabe Davis goes, Jameis Winston goes. That all makes sense. I'm not going to take Ryan Tannehill. I'm not going to take him.
I wouldn't blame you if you did. I mean, the guy is what he is. He's consistent, you know. I mean, he's not someone I want in my starting lineup every week, but a
Yeah.
guy that if you want to plug in once or twice a year when your quarterback 1 and 2 are on bye, I mean, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I'm going through this. I'm trying to see. I mean, Michael Gallup's still there, but we know he's injured. Because at this point in the draft, there's really no such thing as a reach. You're in the 10th round. You take the guys. You don't need to be a slave to ADP at this point. I refuse to be a slave to ADP at this point.
Ever. I drafted Jamar Chase at 5 overall.
Exactly.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me.
But Tony Pollard, I mean, like you said, Zeke is getting paid so much money. Zeke's still going to have the majority role on there. Like Tony Pollard's going to line up in the slot a little bit, I was reading, but it's not like that excites me in the 10th round. Like 10th round is good value for him, but I wouldn't say he's a total steal here. So I don't mind passing over him by any stretch. I did queue up some guys here, just scrolling down the list. I am really super high on Cole Kmet. And I like the idea of taking him here because there is quite a bit of time before my next pick. I think Komet's gone. I think Fant's gone. I think Ertz is going to be gone. If my best tight end options are going to be Trey McBride or Albert O, I don't necessarily know if I love that. I mean, Cole Kmet, how many targets did he have last year? He had a lot.
But I think he's honestly bound to get more this year. I mean, dude, Allen Robinson's gone out of that offense. You know, he took up a lot of room there.
Yeah. Cole Kmet somehow had 93 targets and 0 touchdowns. If there's no way that he sees less than 93 targets this year because obviously he has the confidence of Justin Fields. He's got the confidence of those coaches. He's arguably their wide receiver too from the tight end position, right? And there's no chance in hell that he doesn't score at least 4 touchdowns on a roughly 100 targets. So I'm going to take Cole Kmet. The upside is tremendous in the 10th round. So let's take him. I finally have my full starting roster here, and I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, I love Cole Kmet. I think he's one of those tight ends that can break out. And while we're talking about tight ends, I missed my guy Pat Fryermuth that I just rant and rave about. I'll just pull up the list that I sent you the other day. A list of tight ends who have finished top 15 in their rookie season, still in the league. We have Kyle Pitts, Pat Fryermuth, and Gronk and Evan Ingram.
I was about to say, don't forget Ingram.
And the list of top 15 tight ends within 2 seasons are the same 4: Hawkinson, Kittle, Ertz, Andrews, Kelsey, Hunter Henry, and Gesicki. So I'm huge on Pat Fryermuth, if you couldn't tell. But it didn't. Okay. So now I think I'm looking at, I got to get my second running back.
You're not going to handcuff Zeke here, are you?
No, I can't do that as my RB2. Although I will say I think Tony Pollard is probably the best handcuff to have in the league because if the starting running back goes down, he's getting 100% of the touches. Their third, I don't even know who their third running back is because he's so insignificant.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I would say, and Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but you're stuck between Singletary and Chase Edmonds here.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet to go Devin Singletary. I honestly was pretty stuck. Not even so much Chase Edmonds, as much as I love Chase Edmonds. That running back room is pretty crowded over there,
That's
man.
a mess, yeah.
But I was thinking possibly Rashad Penny. I mean, both him and Devin Singletary are just kind of are good and then get hurt. So yeah, I think I gotta go Singletary here, and I think I'm feeling pretty good about it in the 10th.
Yeah, I would too. And speaking as a guy that loves James Cook, I love James Cook so much. But for the time being, their ADPs shouldn't be 2 full rounds apart. Like James Cook should not go 2 full rounds before Singletary. I think he should go slightly before him. They should be in the same round because they both have the immediate upside, right? Singletary had an amazing stretch in the last half of the season last year, and that's not just going to go away, So I especially if you're someone that doesn't like James Cook like yourself, that's a great pick at 10-8.
Yeah, I'm feeling it, and I mean, like we said, I mean Buffalo is just a high-powered offense, so they're just gonna put up a lot of yards in general. And I mean, I'll take the share of it with Devin Singletary as my RB2. Hoping, if my receiving room can just blow the doors off the place with points, if my wide receiver 6 is Allen Robinson and he's putting up, I mean, I guess he's not going to be wide receiver 6 this year, but you get the point.
Yeah, yeah.
Hoping that I can just put up enough points that Devin Singletary, the points I'm missing out on there don't really hurt me. But here I think I'm gonna go with perennial top 5 guy at the position, and I'm getting him pretty good value. Zach Ertz out of Arizona. I think I like him in my starting lineup. There's no other. I think there's a huge drop off in tight ends. I mean, his backup Trey McBride is the next one according to Sleeper ADP. So I mean, I think I'm very good taking Zach Ertz there and taking the lot of points that he's going to score.
Yeah, I love that pick. Honestly, if I thought I could get Zach Ertz at this pick, I was gonna wait because Zach Ertz in Arizona, he's gonna have a short shelf life at this point, right? They just drafted Trey McBride, so they know they're gonna be bringing him along. But it just like you were saying, there's been 1 year in the last 6 seasons where Zach Ertz hasn't been a top 5 fantasy option at the tight end position. Like last year, he was tight end 5. And that's despite being shifted around from Philly to Arizona and missing a week or two. So I like that pick. Where I'm at now, I would love to take Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is going to have a very good year in Indianapolis, I think. But since I took 2 quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds, I can't justify taking my backup quarterback before even taking my RB3. So what I'm looking at here is probably going to be running back. Adam Thielen is not a bad value here. David Bell is actually a really good value here, in my opinion. But
I like it.
I have a deep receiver room and no young running backs to be found. I'm going to skip over Tyler Algier. I do think he can find success in Atlanta, but I ain't taking a 5th round running back that hasn't touched the ball yet. James Robinson, terrible injury, don't want him. Rashad Penny, Kenny Walker's there. Alexander Madison is interesting, but he really gets almost no workload whatsoever unless Dalvin Cook goes down. Like he's barely even a change of pace back.
Mhm.
So some of the running backs that I do like, Melvin Gordon, because he's going to have a near timeshare with Javonte Williams. That's another old guy that I could get here. Darrell Henderson, very possible that him and Cam Akers are a 2-headed monster. And Darrell Henderson is going several rounds after Cam Akers. So I'm thinking Darrell Henderson or Melvin Gordon here. Is there anyone that I think is going to go that I just won't be able to get? You know what? I don't need all those old running backs. I'm going to take a risk and see who falls to me at 12-3. I'm very high on rookie receiver David Bell. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. I don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball in Cleveland if Deshaun Watson doesn't show up, but I was a really big fan of David Bell's at Purdue. I'm still a really big fan of his. So, you know what? I need some youth on this team. I'm going to take him.
Yeah, and that room can definitely open up. I mean, Amari Cooper's only on a 1-year deal over there in Cleveland, so
Yeah, I think it's going to work out pretty well with David Bell. I'm a big fan. I know a lot of people knock his testing, but I don't give a fuck about wide receiver testing at the combine. I really don't. I mean, he had I know you can't just automatically compare him to a guy like Jarvis Landry, but he had like the exact same combine as Jarvis Landry, and Jarvis Landry has gone on to be like nothing flashy, right? But he's like the Brandon Cooks type where he's just going to catch a trillion balls a season and he's going to be fine. And that's before the combine. That's exactly what I was projecting for David Bell. After the combine, that's exactly what I was projecting for David Bell. And after the draft, that's exactly what I'm projecting for him. So I'll take him. As far as the running backs goes, I have to go my running back here. There are some decent receivers available. There's good quarterback value here. But I need my other running back. And like I said, Melvin Gordon is going to have a near 50-50 split with Javonte Williams again. Very, very short shelf life for me, again, with another running back, but I'll take it with the team that I'm building.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin Gordon finished as an RB2 last year, I think low end RB2. So,
Yeah.
more good value, more good value. So here, oh, I think I know exactly where I'm going. Let me scroll for a minute. I don't even think it's a question. Yeah, it's not a question at all. Give me Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like 12-8 is good value. You can sit on him for a year and whatever happens next year happens. He'll come back to football very easily. It's not like he got suspended for this really fucking terrible thing. Like he bet on his game. It was stupid. It was really, really stupid. But he'll bounce back and he'll come back fine. And
Yeah,
that's fantastic value if you can wait on it in around 12.
I mean, the guy was wide receiver 5 or something like that. The last time we saw him play a full season of football. So I mean, I know he's got a different quarterback in Atlanta with Marcus Mariota, but again, I don't think Marcus Mariota is a long term guy there. So give me Calvin Ridley. He was one of the best wide receiver prospects in rookie drafts almost ever. Yeah, throw him on my team at whatever 26, 27. I don't care. And now I'm looking. Feels like I clearly have to go depth at running back since I have 7 receivers. Probably wouldn't be a. No, I can get QB3s. I think after this.
There's a lot of quarterbacks left right now that are like
Yeah,
semi-starting caliber. Like I'll probably go for a quarterback either at 13-10 or 14-3 because there's just no reason not to take a QB3 at this point.
yeah. I mean, you're getting guys who. I mean, I think Davis Mills obviously has a lot of upside. If he puts up another productive year in Houston and they don't decide to take another quarterback next year, all of a sudden you think he could be a long term guy. Even if he's not a long term guy in Houston, all he needs is a starting role somewhere. There's 32 jobs in the league, and I mean these replacement level quarterbacks are going to teams that are tanking, but they're putting up numbers. So,
Yeah.
um, but here I think I'm going Brian Robinson. Um, as much as I like Antonio Gibson, I think he's a good running back. Washington clearly thinks that he needs some help. So give me Brian Robinson, and if shit hits the fan, I'll have a running back that spikes in value.
Yeah, so be it. I mean, the Washington running back room is going to be so volatile, right? So I having a piece of it, having that piece of it, it's really like obviously there's you'd prefer Antonio Gibson. Anyone would.
Mhm.
For short term, you might even in PPR leagues prefer JD McKissick, but JD McKissick has health issues. Like he's going to be a guy that goes in one of these final 3 or 4 rounds, easy
Mhm.
JD McKissick. But I don't think there's anything wrong with taking Brian Robinson there. I am sad because I thought Darrell Henderson would fall and I'd get my other, older running back. I'm also a little sad that Russell Gage didn't fall. He went right before me because I think Russell Gage is going to have a pretty good year in Tampa Bay. Looking at the two teams behind me, I feel like one, if not both of them, are going to go with a quarterback. So I think I'm going to take my third string quarterback here. I mentioned earlier, I think Matt Ryan's going to have a pretty big year. Dak Prescott's got a long shelf life ahead of him. Derek Carr's got a solid few years ahead of him. And I think Matt Ryan offers more short-term upside than any of these guys. Desmond Ritter, he's interesting because I don't think Marcus Mariota has a stranglehold of that starting job. But then again, Atlanta is no team who drafted a quarterback in the third round. I think Atlanta is going to end up with a top 5 pick next year. And I think that means they're going to take a quarterback because next year's quarterback class blows the dick off of this one's, right? And there would be no reason to say, oh, Desmond Ritter helped us get a top 5 pick this year. Let's keep building with that. No, like they're going to go with Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or whoever the hell's there. So I just don't have a lot of faith. I'm going to take Matt Ryan here because I have 3 very solid quarterbacks. I'm in my win now roster with this team. So that's a lot of insurance right there.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to take a shot on a guy like Desmond Ritter for a guy as your QB3. I think you'd rather a guy who's safe in Matt Ryan, for the next year or two.
Yeah, definitely. And now this is when things get weird because there's no one on the board that I love at this point, like not a single person. I'm not taking my backup tight end already. That's too early for me. DJ Chark, okay, maybe, but at best, he's the fifth option when Jameson Williams is healthy in Detroit. I like Kenny Gainwell, kind of. Let's mark him. Miko Hardman staying away. Naheem Hines, don't need him. Fuck, dude. Evan Ingram should have a solid year in Jacksonville, but again, not taking a tight end right now. Like DPJ. Jarvis Landry's still there. That's an interesting pick. I don't want to scroll too far down because at this point, I know you can't really reach in round 14, but like I'm way down in the ADPs right now.
You do what you got to do, man. Find the value.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Well, I set up a queue. I have a minute. So let's view this queue here. If I can get back to the top. So Kenny Gainwell, Donovan's Peoples Jones, Jarvis Landry, Brevin Jordan, not taking him yet. Tim Patrick, Curtis Samuel. I have 3 running backs. I have 7 receivers, I think. 6 receivers. I only have 6 receivers. I could probably get away with taking one here. I don't need another Cleveland receiver in Donovan's Peoples Jones. Jarvis Landry. I mean, if Michael Thomas doesn't rebound, and I really don't think Michael Thomas is, at least not at the start of the season, Jarvis Landry is Jameis Winston's number 1 receiver. And I mean, he's 29. It's whatever. Fuck it. It's the 14th round. I'm taking Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, I mean, get the guy that makes sense. Find the volume. And my guy is here. Thank God. I thought you were gonna find him. The diamond in the rough. Someone that hasn't been mentioned at all in almost any league, and I can understand why. Marlon Mack. You might call it an overdraft, but as of right now, he's the running back 1 in Houston. So, I mean, I think he's the only guy on the board really that is gonna score points this year. So I don't mind this late.
I don't hate that pick, and one of the reasons why a lot of people stayed away from Marlon Mack, what was it? It was an Achilles injury that he had, right, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was the exact same injury that Deontay Foreman had. And a lot of people were excited about Deontay Foreman as like a super sleeper pick this time a couple years ago. He got hurt, didn't quite rebound. But then Deontay Foreman, after actually having the chance to rest up and get back on his feet, when he stepped in for Derrick Henry last year, he actually looked really good in Tennessee. I'm not saying Deontay Foreman and Marlon Mack are the same type of player, but I am saying that if Marlon Mack is an RB1 currently in Houston, his health is likely fine at this point. And I think you're right. It's his job to lose. Getting that kind of value in the 14th round, I'm kind of upset that I didn't pay attention to him.
Yeah, I made sure to keep my mouth shut. Don't worry. So now I'm looking. I'm a little deep here.
Board is so ugly in the 14th round, 15th round.
Yeah, I know. At this point, I feel like I just want to take guys that I know are good athletes and I know that are good football players. So it's kind of intriguing to go Devontae Parker, but I do have Russell Wilson as a quarterback. And there are a lot of question marks in that Denver receiving room. And yeah, like we talked about the other day, I am feeling me a little bit of Tim Patrick exposure.
Love it.
I mean, the guy's athletic. I mean, we saw what he did for those stretches of games where he got the volume, and if Russell Wilson ends up taking a liking to him, he's going to see the snap share. So, in a room with a lot of question marks, give me the cheapest question mark, Tim Patrick.
I absolutely love that pick. Tim Patrick has statistically led Denver the last 2 seasons now. Like, granted, injuries happen, shitty quarterbacks happen, but Tim Patrick, man, he's all reliable. He is like, you know, if anyone gets hurt, he's an easy wide receiver 3 flex play, plug and play, 1000%. Even the weeks where everyone's healthy, he's not a terrible bye week filler at all. So I really like that pick there. Really, really like that pick. So here I am. I have my 3 quarterbacks. I don't need to worry about quarterbacks anymore. I could still use another tight end, but at this point, I do only have 3 running backs. And again, everything at this point is going to be a quote unquote reach according to the ADP because I hate the guys that are still there.
Mhm.
I mentioned him earlier when you took Brian Robinson, JD McKissick. It's assuming we're in a PPR league. JD McKissick, he has always had good volume with Washington. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, he was a top 15 PPR running back. I don't foresee that happening again, but there is a clear path to targets for him. They clearly don't want to get Antonio Gibson super involved in that capacity. Brian Robinson's not much of a pass catcher. So I think there's going to be a ton of options for JD McKissick, especially with Carson Wentz throwing the ball. I mean, Carson Wentz is not amazing. So I think there's going to be a lot of dink and dunk kind of passes. So fuck it. Let's take another running back that's over the age of 27.
Yeah, I mean, JD McKissick, they begged him to come back, man. They wanted him there. He's going to play a role in the offense, so you can't go wrong. Getting a guy who's going to play a role in an offense in the 15th round, I'm good with that any day of the week.
Yeah. No, I can't complain. And there's there's some guys here that I like still. But I took Cole Kmet as my tight end 1. I wouldn't say that's necessarily risky, but I could diversify that and get someone who's going to be safe, right? So I could go with Gronk because I wouldn't call him safe since he's not technically signed right now. But you know that he's probably going to sign and he's going to be amazing as always with Tom Brady. I could go with Tyler Higbee, right? Because he's perfectly fine with Matt Stafford. I also really like Brevin Jordan's upside in Houston. I think Brevin Jordan's going to be a breakout candidate this year. But I already have my eggs in the basket for Cole Kmet to be a breakout this year. Another guy that no one's talking about is Austin Hooper landing in Tennessee. Austin Hooper was an absolute target monster when he played in Atlanta. Didn't really work out so well in Cleveland, but Cleveland hasn't worked out well with any of their tight ends, despite them just giving David Njoku a pretty big deal. Ryan Tannehill likes himself a good tight end. If Malik Willis ends up taking over, he's going to dump it off to his tight ends and those short range receivers. Robert Woods and Treylon Burks are both in this offense, but Robert Woods is coming off of a pretty big injury, and Treylon Burks has had questions, surrounding him with his asthma or whatever. Yeah. I feel like Austin Hooper's kind of a reach here, though. So, fuck. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Tyler Higbee here because he is that plug and play, super safe, high end tight end 2 kind of guy. And if he scores a touchdown, hey, it's been a good week. So we'll take Tyler Higbee as some tight end insurance.
Yeah, I'm good with that there. I like my backups to be able to guarantee. I like them high floor backups. You know what I mean? I don't need a backup that's gonna be, hot and cold, boomer bust. I want a guy that I'm gonna be able to plug in and rely on those couple points to get me over the hump. So they're better than not roster or not starting a guy for the week. And
Definitely.
here I think I'm gonna get the most value out of getting another quarterback. And I would prefer to take a guy who's got a starting job. And the guy who I was talking about, I think the guy who's got the biggest chance to earn himself a long-term job is Davis Mills. I don't think that Washington is looking at Carson Wentz as a long-term quarterback. I don't think New York is looking at Daniel Jones, Jared Goff in Detroit, Garoppolo in San Fran, Trubisky in Pitt, Locke in Seattle, Darnold in Carolina. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody has any hope, or at least much hope for any of those guys. I think there's a lot more hope for Davis Mills. So I think that's where I'm going to go and then see what happens on the wrap around here.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah,
QB3, super late starting. Yeah, that's all
yeah.
you can really ask for.
So now,
Wow, and good thing you went quarterback because there was just a run
yeah,
on him.
yeah, quite the run, quite the run. I don't think I was getting him. I guess I wasn't getting him at the 17-5.
Yeah,
So now I'm kind of caught between Nico Collins, Devontae Parker, and Curtis Samuel. Maybe a little Terrace Marshall.
I do like Terrace Marshall. I think the people that are writing off Terrace Marshall after 1 year are reacting too quickly because the tape was there coming out of college, the stats were there coming out of college, despite losing Joe Burrow, for his final year. You can't really fault anyone in that Panthers offense last year. I mean, Sam Darnold was abysmal. The coaching was abysmal. Christian McCaffrey barely played all year. Like, it's going to be a different team this year, no matter, even if Sam Darnold's still there, even if Matt Rule's still coaching, it's going to be a completely different offense this year. So I think there's still a lot to like about Terrace Marshall.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got a lot of time to improve too. I mean, it's hard to hate these young receivers because we see guys like Stephon Diggs breaks out when he's 26, Michael Pittman when he's 25, it takes a while for these guys. Um, I'm thinking, I mean, has a productive receiver ever come out of a New England offense that wasn't named Randy Moss? Probably not. So I guess go Nico Collins just based off the fact that there's really no other option besides Brandon Cooks in that receiving room, and I think he's going to see the field more than a lot of these guys.
Yeah, that's a solid call.
Oh, maybe you know what? No, give me Devin Duvernay.
Devin
Give me
Duvernay, what a
Devin
pick.
Duvernay. Give me Devin
Why?
Duvernay. Marquise Brown is out of there. There's no other receiver. It's Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman, who I'm actually very high on. But Bateman is their number one right now. Devin Duvernay steps into the number two spot. I'm good with that. Give me the wide receiver two in what's a strong offense. Maybe not the best passing offense, but I mean, what did Rashad Bateman do last year? He had a couple games with 15 points. Why can't Devin Duvernay do that as the wide receiver two this year? I mean, he's a talented guy. I don't think they would have gotten rid of Marquise Brown if they didn't believe in both of those two wide receivers. So, yeah, give it to me. I missed out on Rashad Bateman earlier in the draft. Give me the piece of that offense that I was missing.
See, if I'm going for a piece of that offense late in the draft, I would honestly go with Tylan Wallace. I mean, we're grasping at straws here, trying to figure out who Baltimore's wide receiver two is going to be because
Yeah.
there's no indication as to who it will be. I was just a big fan of Tylan Wallace in rookie drafts last year, and I'm just hoping that he's the guy because I took Tylan Wallace in like every single fourth round of every rookie draft that I took part in. But you were the only person in the first 9 picks of the 17th round not to take a quarterback. So good on
Uh,
you taking Davis Mills when you wanted to take him.
yeah, it was a gut feeling, I guess.
Yeah. So my philosophy here, there's 4 rounds left. I only have 4 running backs. I only have 6 wide receivers. I don't need another tight end. I don't need another quarterback. So I like taking upside running backs at the end because you never know, right? You could hit on the next James Robinson or whoever else. It's not likely, but the more you use on those guys, the more chance you have. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm pretty much going to commit myself to taking the flyer running backs 18, 19, and 20. I do want a 7th wide receiver for my squad here. And, we mentioned Terrace Marshall. I think he's the leading candidate for me here. I think Danny Gray is going to actually win the wide receiver 3 role in San Fran his rookie year, but I have Brandon Ayuk. So it is what it is. Um, I also really like Van Jefferson in LA, but if they bring back OBJ, which it seems like they want to bring back OBJ, Van Jefferson is, the wide receiver 4 there. So I'm going to go ahead and take Terrace Marshall. Just say fuck it. We're taking a risk.
No, I like that. He was on my mind over Devin Duvernay, definitely. But I think there was more opportunity for Duvernay. I mean, especially if Bateman's your number one receiver there. I mean, compared to DJ Moore, I think I'd rather bet on the guy who's competing with Bateman than DJ Moore.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's fine. It's fine. I disagree. That I think you should take Terrace Marshall there, but that's just me. Um so what are we doing here? So right now I'm just looking at my running backs, right? Seeing who's there, seeing who might have a chance to actually do something in this life. I'm just marking a whole bunch of them here. There is obviously just a whole bunch of BS at the end here. Jerick McKinnon did re-sign with Kansas City today, and God knows what's going on in that offense, especially since Darrell Williams did go to Arizona. So I have some running backs marked here. Dearness Johnson, I like him a lot in Cleveland. I think that Kareem Hunt could be a camp casualty. I think Kareem Hunt could be cut at current price in Cleveland, and they're going to be they have been run first. And if Deshaun Watson gets suspended, they're very obviously going to stay run first. So I really like that. You mentioned it earlier. James Conner can't stay healthy. If James Conner goes down, Darrell Williams, we saw him in Kansas City last year step into a big role, and he was a top 15, top 20 guy.
Mhm.
So this is the kind of upside we're looking for. Um, I would rather bank. I don't want to bank on an injury, but I'd rather bet on James Conner getting hurt than Nick Chubb getting hurt. So I'm going to take Darrell Williams here and take Arizona's RB2.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. Any RB2, I'm going with the same strategy you are. You took the words kind of right out of my mouth. Get guys that are going to step into roles when someone gets hurt, and maybe you trade them off for a third round pick, or maybe if you get a dummy in the league in a second round pick. But here I'm looking at. I think. I think. No, I know. Now I know. So I was looking between Kenyon Drake and everybody's third favorite running back from whatever class that was, in Zach Moss. Um,
Oh
I think
God.
I think that the Bills are completely by committee.
Mm.
Uh, I think at least by the end of the year. I drafted Devin Singletary in hopes that I could get 12 to 15 points a game out of him for the first half of the season. But I think that, like you
Well,
said,
I
James Cook is
wouldn't.
that workload.
Yeah, if you want my take on it, Zach Moss is going to be a healthy scratch more than he is actually in a jersey on Sundays, I think. Because even last year, when
Yeah.
they didn't have running back depth last year, and they scratched Zach Moss for a handful of games. So I think it's firmly, the Singletary, James Cook stack there. And,
hmm
maybe Zach Moss suits up, but I don't think he's going to sniff the field very often.
And with you, I think Kenyon Drake is my man. I think he's definitely my man. I should have brushed up on my Zach Moss knowledge, but I think Kenyon Drake in the Raiders offense, which I mean, I guess they're trying to move towards the passing game with Devontae Adams, but whatever, who cares? It's the 17th round.
Well, Kenyon Drake is their pass catcher too, right? Over Josh
Yeah.
Jacobs. So, I mean, I think Josh Jacobs did see over 50 or 60 targets last year, which was kind of surprising. But still, I mean, you're right. They don't have long term plans with Josh Jacobs, so who knows how much they're going to commit to him this year. So Kenyon Drake's not a bad pick there.
Yeah, and I mean, Josh Jacobs has been sliding, but at the same time, I mean, he's what a 25-year-old running back that has been RB high end RB2 for his entire career. I
Yeah.
mean, he even though he's coming up on the end of his Vegas contract, I mean, I don't think that means that he's done in the league. I mean, a lot of people are really, really down on him. I mean, I would buy him for cheap.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Now here, this is kind of a gross spot. I mean, every spot here is gross.
Yeah, at this point, you're kind of just putting your blindfold on and shooting for the bullseye.
I mean, there's so many guys that just aren't even signed to teams.
I know.
But I can't believe I might be about to do this. I can't believe I'm gonna do it, Mikey.
What are you doing?
But I think I'm gonna do it. I think I did.
Oh, God, I want to puke.
Yeah, I mean, what else can I do here? I mean, I guess Brian Edwards would have been a good pick. Will Fuller, if you can get off steroids. But
Yeah, it's fine though. Honestly, it's fine.
mm,
I mean, Sam Darnold's going to start a few games this year at least. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I don't think.
he'll Sam Darnold could very potentially go on, and I don't want to give him this high praise. I don't. I'm not comparing the two, but he could essentially be like journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick and just end up being this perennial backup. Because Sam Darnold as a backup quarterback in
Mhm.
a real life NFL team, that's solid. That's
Yeah,
solid because he has his moments. You could rely on him to start in a pinch, I
yeah.
think, with a good roster.
He would probably be the best backup quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, one of them.
I can't really think of many, but other than maybe Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of the season is going to be a backup.
Yeah, but
They
he's
don't.
not a starter. Sam Darnold, we can all agree, and I'm a Panthers fan. For those of you who don't know, we can all agree Sam Darnold is not an NFL starting caliber kind of guy. Anyway, with that being said, I was talking about Dearness Johnson, my last pick. He's still there. I'm just going to take him. This is all about just getting my rookie, or not my rookies, my back end running backs, and I have a feeling Jerick McKinnon will still be there. He is. He just re-signed with the Chiefs today. Clyde Edwards-Helaire sucks. Ronald Jones sucks. Jerick McKinnon really is nothing to be pumped about. But on the half decent chance that both Kansas City running backs ahead of him on the depth chart flop, fuck it. I'll take the guy that's going to catch passes from Pat Mahomes.
No, I'm down with getting any part of that Chiefs offense for sure. I mean, that receiving room is so. I mean, that entire offense, running back room, receiving room, everything is wide open in that Kansas City offense.
You know what I think is kind of funny? I considered taking Austin Hooper over Tyler Higbee in the 16th round, and Austin Hooper just went 4.5 rounds after him. So I guess I feel okay about not taking him there.
I mean, these are bots. We have to remember that at the end of the day. I mean, I'm not against Austin Hooper either. You know, he was a guy who a lot of people were big on for a long time. I mean, he had two, I think, top five seasons or something like that. He was sixth or whatever in the league. But I mean, he was a guy who was young, and I mean, showed a lot of potential. I mean, who knows? He's in a new landing spot. You know, things could pop off for the guy.
Yeah, I guess you never know.
And here I'm looking at, I wanted to just go running back, running back, but I'm seeing a guy that might be able to do a similar thing for me in the fact of just maybe gaining value and maybe a guy I can trade for a later round draft pick later on the year if he produces. So give me Robbie Anderson.
You know, it's really funny. I don't know if you were looking at my screen just now, but I had Robbie Anderson's player card up because
I was
I was gonna freak out if Robbie Anderson didn't get picked. He had 136 targets in 2020, 95 catches, over 1,000 yards. He is one season removed from a pretty damn good year. You know, like Robbie Anderson, he doesn't even deserve to fall all the way down in the 20th round. If I was half tempted to take him over Terrace Marshall if I wasn't so pumped about Terrace Marshall this time last year. You know what I mean? Like that that's a steal.
yeah,
If
yeah.
Robbie Anderson is even half of his 2020 self, um 20th round Robbie Anderson is a steal.
I mean, dude, KJ Hamler, Julio Jones, Chris Carson, and Amari Rogers went after him. So I'm good with that.
Yeah. I think well before we wrap it up here,
Hey,
I
let's
know.
review how the team's shaped out.
Yeah, I know it's been a long video here, but let's take a look. Well, you drafted first before me, so let's take a look at your team here. I'll pull it up. All right. So we have your quarterbacks are Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, and Sam Darnold and Davis Mills. He's got 4 starting quarterbacks. I think that's a pretty solid room.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with Sam Darnold being my fourth best quarterback and taking a shot in the dark on the guy who, if he ends up getting a starting job, if he gets a starting job, then he's worth something in a super flex league. So
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad at all. You're now obviously your receiver room, right? Because you started off with Jamar Chase, and then you got DK, you got young studs with Traylon Burks and Amon Ra. Allen Robinson is going to be great this year. Juju's the wide receiver one in Kansas City right now. Tim Patrick, Calvin Ridley. Obviously, you won't have him this year, but that's okay. And then 20th round Robbie Anderson and your guy Devin Duvernay. That's not a bad receiver room. That's not a bad receiver room led by Chase and Metcalf.
yeah, I think a lot of upside with Juju too. Juju could definitely find his way in that starting lineup. I don't see Traylon Burks starting in this lineup over Allen Robinson and Juju this year, to be quite honest with you. But I mean, whatever happens, happens. I got a lot of options. It's a wide receiver 3 spot essentially. Or it's a wide receiver 4 spot really. It's really the second flex option. So
I would say your weakness lies. We'll talk about your running back room in a second, but Zach Ertz is the only tight end that you drafted.
Mhm.
That is risky.
Yeah, see that. I mean, that doesn't bother me much. In a startup league, like I said, I mean, I'm really not worried about the lineup. Give me the value. I'll probably be able to trade. I'll be able to trade any of those guys on my bench for a backup tight end and plus a third round pick. So I feel like I'm good with it.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. I mean, if Zach Ertz gets hurt, then it's a different conversation, I guess. But I mean,
Yeah,
realistically, unless you took one in the first 16 rounds, essentially when I took Tyler Higbee, I mean, yeah, you could have gotten Tonian, who was an injured flop last year.
hmm
You could have gotten Gronk, who isn't even signed right now. You could have gotten Austin Hooper, who is just a pipe dream by me. You know what I mean? Like it's really there's probably some decent guys on the waiver wire that could be a serviceable backup if something happened to Zach
yeah,
Ertz.
exactly. And like we said, I mean, the tight end position is just so easy to replace if you don't have a guy that's inside the top like 3 or 4. So I mean, I'm good with it. I got good value on Zach Ertz. So if I get a shitty tight end, if some shitty thing happens,
Yeah, it is what it is.
yeah.
Zeke is obviously your RB1. I think that he's a solid RB1. I don't care what people say. The fact that you got him at 6'8", I mean
Mhm.
that's one of the bigger steals of the draft in my opinion. And if anyone disagrees, sorry, but just look at Zeke's history. Like,
I mean, the guy is. I think he's younger than Austin Eckler right now. I think isn't.
yeah, he's only 26. I think Eckler is 27 officially.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's fine.
yeah,
He's fine. He's a top 15 running back that you got in the 6th round. Like,
yeah. I feel like
don't
that's
cry
that.
about it.
I feel like that was kind of the story with my draft with Zach Ertz. Getting a guy who is a top 6 in production, but getting them way later. I got a guy like Zeke who is probably going to put up as much production as Dalvin Cook and guys like that in that tier, and I got him way later. So I'm good with the value that I got on a lot of these guys. As far as it being a dominant roster that's going to win a league right now, I mean, a lot of ifs, but especially with DK being my number 2 with, Drew Lock there. I mean, it is what it is. We're looking for production from the bench value. Probably going to be trading a lot of these guys, just trying to get future value for them. But the roster's pretty young overall. I'm okay with being old at running back. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, overall, not a bad roster. Championship contender, in my opinion, probably not. But playoff contender, I think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to think. I mean, I'm trading Jamar Chase. I'm trading out of that pick with Jamar Chase, anyways. Trading back and
Yeah. I would have done the same at that point too. Because after who was it? It was Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Joe
Herbert.
Burrow, and Herbert that went top 4.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that order, but whatever. I would agree. I would want to keep a top 4 pick so I can get those guys, and anything after that, I'm probably trading back a little bit. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are fucking awesome. But in a super flex league like this, especially a 20 round super flex league, you want to prioritize the quarterback if you can.
Yeah.
And I think going any of those other quarterbacks over Jamar Chase would have been a disservice to your team. So I
Yeah.
see why you would trade.
I think I ended up getting a good quarterback room with Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford. I mean, those guys are going to put up points for the next 3, 4 years. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, how could you not be? And then my team here, I got Dak in the first round. I took Derek Carr, and then I also have Matt Ryan. So my quarterbacks are cemented. I don't know how amazing Matt Ryan is going to be, but I think he's going to have a solid year in Indy, and that's pretty cool for my QB3. Dak Prescott, he's a weekly top 10 guy. Derek Carr with Devontae
You
Adams.
know how I feel about Dak. You don't have to tell me twice.
Oh, I know. You were upset even when I had Dak projected as like my QB 12 or whatever it was in my projections.
Yeah, that hurt me. It's all right.
Yeah. I so my redraft projections, I have Dak at 12 and I have Derek Carr at 10. And if that happens in real life in this year, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, two QB1s there.
Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, JD McKissick, my three trash boy running backs at the end there. Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette, I don't care that they're leading my running back room. I'm going to be scrambling for running backs this time in a year, maybe 2 years if I'm lucky. But this is, in my opinion, this is a legitimate championship contender right off the bat because I have extremely high volume running backs here. Then Cooper Cup, who I don't need to talk about. Everyone knows Cooper Cup's fucking awesome. T. Higgins, I talked about him earlier. He's awesome. Mike Williams' upside is through the roof. Brandon Cooks is just a target hog. Brandon Ayuk, Jarvis Landry, like my guys all have such big target opportunities. And that's kind of what I was going for at wide receiver with a handful of those guys. So end of the day, I'm not upset with this roster at all. And I am totally down to hit convert to league and find people to take over these teams because I would love to keep this team.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely be high playoff team here. You'd probably end up. Looks like you're gonna end up selling some guys in the next year or two. With obviously with Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, Brandon Cooks. You can scroll down, but then you have your own core too of Brandon Ayuk and T Higgins and uh Terrace Marshall, I guess if you want to call him. I mean, I guess I'm good with him as my young core wide receiver 3.
Yeah. And
Uh,
Cole Kmet as a young tight end. I'm not upset with that at all. I
yeah, I
mean,
mean he's an athletic freak, that guy.
he
So
is. He is. My philosophy with this team is go for it this year, and if it doesn't work out, whatever I can get for Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette next year, I take it. Probably sell off Cooper Cup while his value is still through the roof. Probably look to sell, Derek Carr as well, and just kind of go from there. Whenever I do a startup, I always try to build a contingency plan within it because I always tell myself I'm gonna get those young studs. I'm gonna build that true dynasty. But I always think of it more as like a redraft league hybrid almost because I know that a lot of people that go into startups they have a philosophy where they want to be a contender for the next several years. But not many people in a dynasty startup say, "Fuck it, I'm taking the trophy this year." So that's kind of the philosophy that I've started following, and I've had some pretty decent success with it. So I
yeah,
I
well, I
love it.
mean, every league is going to have those guys that are going to pay first round picks for aging assets, and they're not going to know any better, and it's going to piss off the rest of the league. But I mean, it's dynasty. Some people are in it for fun, so you do what you can with what you have. And I think there's never a problem with drafting guys that are going to give you production right away. And that if your team falls apart, you sell them for parts. You know,
Exactly. Now it's all in good fun. Like you said, everyone's gonna have a different philosophy. Everyone's gonna bring different things to the table. It's just a matter of finding the strategy that's gonna work for you, and really depends on what you're drafting out of too, right? Like that could
yeah.
completely change your philosophy on draft day.
Yeah,
But
entirely. I mean, draft position has everything to do with everything.
exactly. And if there's trading, which unfortunately there's just not enough time in the day to mock up one of these with trades and everything.
Yeah, of course not.
But yeah, so if you made it this far, that's cool. I don't know if anyone's watching our very first video all the way an hour and a half through because hey, I don't blame you. You don't know us. That's cool. That's fine. But if you're here, you're fucking cool. um, but yeah, with that being said, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off here. We're definitely gonna be coming up with much shorter videos in the future, quick 5 to 10 minute videos. And obviously, every couple of weeks, we're going to come in, we're going to do a mock draft, see where average draft positions are. We're also going to be going through some videos where it's like, oh, here's a couple trade scenarios. Would you do this? Would you do that? What would you sell this guy for? So we're going to be bringing out a lot of, stuff like that. And as we start to get more of a following and, start getting subscribers, and feel free to comment anything down in the comment section, and we'd be more than happy to answer it or even make an entire video over it. Cause hey, you're the only one listening right now. So pretty fun stuff. But Tyler, you got anything to add before we sign off here?
No, excited to get started, and you're fucking cool.
Fucking cool. All right. See you guys next time on That Dynasty Show.